All right, all right, all right. Welcome to my channel, The Actual King Smith, and we are live on my Wednesday night chats with dads. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be here for about an hour while I chop it up with somebody who I met when I got my first overseas active duty assignment. This guy that I'm going to come on. The one thing that I recall about that just kind of makes me kind of like smile and laugh at the same time is that I don't know if he thought that I was a bit of a hard headed guy, but whenever he had some really solid advice, he was ready to offer that advice right when you were ready to accept it. Something that I did learn just prior to the start of the stream is that both him and I are sons of Army veterans. And his motivation to join our nation's U.S. Air Force is very similar to mine. We saw the experience from, our father and said, yep, don't want to do that. So without further ado, I am going to bring on my main man, and it's a tongue twister of a name if you say it fast. Rafael Cruz Oyola, and I hope I pronounced it right. Ralph, how's it going, brother?
Hey, you're all good there. It sounds perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, man, first of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come onto my live stream with me, Chats with Dads. Like I shared with you, man, this is a personal project of mine, but I'm glad that I've got some, people who I know that are willing to come on and just kind of, talk about life and give their story and talk about the values and things that is in their mind. So I appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to do that
Definitely
with me.
appreciate the invite. It's kind of cool doing something like this. Never done it before. So
Okay.
I like first. So this is a cool first.
Awesome. Hey man, so first of all, kind of I wondered the obvious. Me and you haven't seen each other in over a decade, I think. And me and you both got the facial hair. It is unique for me to
And
see you with the long hair in the
long
back,
hair.
the
Yeah,
full beard, man, the whole nine, brother.
let it grow out.
So me and you both, like I said, met when both being prior active duty. Do you miss it?
No.
Good.
I mean, just that's a flat out answer of no, because I enjoyed what I did when I did it,
Hmm.
and I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. You know, so it isn't that I miss it. Um, there are things that I think fondly of about it, and there's things that I think of. How did we do that? How did we go through that and be okay over here? So um, there's everything's learning. I'm older than most, younger than a bunch, but there's always learning. So
Hmm.
um, I'm enjoying not being told what to do, when to do it, where to be. Being home for holidays, being home for just those big events, birthdays, anniversaries. How about you? You enjoying
Hey,
it?
there is stuff that I do miss about it, man. Don't get me wrong, but um, I'll tell you what. Like, I've got my daughter literally right over here, and so kind of the stuff that I am going to be talking about live with literally everybody, man. It's the things and the values and the stuff that I'm happy that I actually get the opportunity to be a part of.
Hmm.
When I was in the service, right?
Hmm.
She was young. She was
Oh yeah, yeah. I
extremely
remember
young.
her being so small.
But there was still some of those milestones that I missed because
Hmm.
duty called.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely cherish the opportunities that I get to have, and don't take those moments for granted for the different things that she's able to do while I'm still here in her
Hmm.
life.
That is true, and I think that's the part I don't miss at all is missing all that. But again, like you said, and I get what you're saying. You know, there's parts that you miss. Um, for me, it's a chapter, and I moved on from it. And man, I tell you what, my uniforms, the girls said, hey, you know what? Can we at least keep some around in some sort of tub, you know, for later on reminiscing or whatever? Cool. Put them in tubs. Haven't seen them since. Wait, I lied. I pulled my boots out because the snow came down pretty heavy, so I had to shovel the driveway.
Hey man, I was just actually in Wichita, Kansas, and huge shout out to Jeff Sparks. He's gonna come on one of my episodes
Oh, that's
here
good. Yeah,
somewhere in the
yeah, he's a
future.
good guy.
But
Yeah.
I just learned that they've got these new flight suits, man, that they look like the ABUs, so you can take the top off, and they got the pants, man. Jeff gave me a pair of the pants, so they're the only ones that I have that are out because just like you, I got one pair of flight suits, one pair of blues
Uh,
that I have hanging up, but
uh,
the rest of my stuff, either Salvation Army, I donated to the Airman's Attic,
mhm.
or they're sitting in a tub somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. It just, I was ready to be done. I think, and that's the thing, I think the military teaches you a lot. You know, they they get on discipline. They get on basically the core values that we live by. There's a lot of stuff I took from it. And I think just you were medically discharged, right?
Medically retired. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, medically retired. That's what it was. And even then, at the point you were what, maybe about 8 years, 9 years, something like that.
Just over 9. Hmm.
Yeah. And the further along you started going, and the higher up you got, the more silliness. That's probably the best way of putting it on here. The more silliness I think I was seeing, and I thought I was going to be able to have more of an impact. You know, um, but you find out pretty quick when you get up in those ranks. You're still going to have the boss over your boss, and they're still going to get the final say. Some of them will respect what you got to say. Some of them will respect it, but not go along with it. And it's just like, well, I finished out in Scott in headquarters AMC in Stanival, and I really thought, I went there. I'm just like, you know what a great chance to look out for our people flying the line. And I kid you not, my first FCIF that showed up, the flight crew information file. I don't know if you know who's all watching, but basically the information we get out to the air crews came from the front because they ran a passenger egress test. And they said, you know what, instead of our standard at the time 57 releasable seats, because of the egress at the time when the FCIF got to my desk, they said, uh, release this FCIF with only 15 passengers allowed on board because of egress. And it's like, you know what we do, right? We moving people all the time. This does not pass the, just does this make sense? This doesn't pass a common sense check. And so I ended up scratching it out and rewriting over it, moved it back to the front. Well, I did not realize because I was new to there. This was actually coming from the A3, the general. So it came from his desk down, and of course I sent it back with red ink. And then they sent it back. They did change the numbers a little bit, and then I'm just like, no, we gotta, no, this is, let's send it back up. And then it came back and it said, had a note with the general's notepad letterhead and said, this is the final draft, release it. And, it came from General, I forgot his last name, first name was Frank. But like, Oh, this actually was coming. We were back and forth, the general and me. Okay, cool. But he's always going to have the final word. I could look out as much as I can, but they're always going to override me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do the best I can for you guys. But here it is, and then of course when you got to deliver those FCIFs or that news, like, hey, this reg has changed, and we put up a fight, and they told us how it's going to be, and rank is always going to win, no matter how hard you fight. And we got movement, but we didn't get it the way we wanted altogether. So I think that's where I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm good now. This is let me go seek some other avenue, and let me let some other people move up here and get their fresh ideas and their um, youthful in the sense of youth in this position, new to the position. Let them get that energy in there because y'all got me worn.
Hey, so I'm gonna take it back a bit.
Yeah.
Now, I started the intro of this podcast by saying that you are the son of an Army veteran. Is your father
Okay.
still alive on this earth?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
He's out. Have you heard of Fort Riley,
Okay. All
Kansas?
right.
Yeah. So he's out in a town near there, Junction City.
All right. When you were in high school, for most teenagers, things kind of start getting serious around that senior year.
Mhm.
What was life like for you living with your, parents? And was he still in the military when you were still in high school?
Let's see. He had or he was on terminal leave, and for me, things were actually not very good at the house. There was some family stuff going on,
Mhm.
um, but it's like one of those environments now these days we could talk about and have more understanding about. As time goes on, we should all be getting better, right? Um, so we started realizing, you know what, this environment is actually it's really complex. We we get a lot of support from my parents, but at the same time, um, that's a good way of putting it. We we got a lot of support, but at the same time, we probably were going down the wrong road a lot of times. Too, you know what I'm saying? So I know I was ready to go anyways because growing up, it was I think that generation really had that mentality of when you graduate high school, you're gonna be full time in school, or you're gonna be full time work, or a little bit of both, but you're not gonna sit around here doing nothing, right?
Yes. Now, how do you feel about that now, being that you're the father of two daughters? One that is, and this blew my mind, is almost a
A
junior,
junior,
right? A junior in
yeah, she's
college.
starting. Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
another one that's just a
freshman.
year older than mine, because
Hmm.
I know that the older generation would say that, you know what I'm saying? But to me, it's like, I think there's a balance between trying to prepare them and make sure that they're ready, but not necessarily shoving them out the door, as soon as they've graduated high school, be like, all right, go, serve your country or go to
Yeah,
college or get out and go be an adult.
right. Yeah. No, we've come to realize a couple of things, and again, I don't blame prior generations. They did with what they knew. You know what I'm saying? So when I say this stuff, absolutely no blame. It's more of a we learning things, and we're gonna pass it on and hopefully be better by it. So for us, we realized the idea of, well, you know what? They're gonna have to deal with it anyways. They might as well start now. And it's like, Well, no, because we need to show them that here, this is their safe haven. So when they do run into trouble, they're not afraid to come and seek guidance. We're teaching them to be independent and be thoughtful in their actions, and they've been really good with that. You could see it. They'll have their friends around, and a lot of their friends are pretty mature and smart too. So again, whenever I say any of this stuff, I am not taking away from people. Everyone grows at their own speed, but you could see their thought compared to their friends. For example, their friends may, be having a barbecue, and thunderstorm decides to show up, and you may have your onesie twosie. It's like, no, it's all good. We're up here playing by the flagpole with the lightning going and all this stuff. But they have the sense of, okay, you know what? Let's think about this a little bit more. Well, that applies with the way, like my oldest, she decided with college. You know, we see plenty of other kids. One of her good friends, for example, and I'm not mentioning names on purpose here, but
Mm-hmm.
just one of her good friends, where she doesn't get along very well uh, with being at home. Loves her, parent, but just is they always little bickering here and there. So she's always ready to, oh God, when summer over so I could go back to school or, like kind of go away. Um, uh, our oldest does not give us that sense at all. She realizes, you know what, the big picture is I know I would like to go down this career path. And in realizing that, I chose these different colleges to look at. She looked at up in Chicago. We're in St. Louis, by the way, for those who don't know. She looked at St. Louis University. She looked at a couple of HBCUs. And she was okay. You know what? Here's how I'm going to do. Let me see how much I could get paid for the school. How much of my tuition will be able to be covered. She got excellent grades. She was part of many honor societies.
Nice.
Just forming it up.
Mm-hmm. Like
And
a academic Voltron.
academic, yeah, building the resume, right? And
Exactly.
then she started thinking about it herself, and we talked about it. We did our best not to influence her hard on those decisions because it's her decision. It's going to be the route that she takes. So we let her know, kind of put more facts in front of her and let her have that factual information to make those decisions, right? So for us, stuff like, of course, and you about to find out the finances, and hopefully here in the U.S. we do something to help things out when it comes to college for everyone a little bit because the costs can be high depending on what scholarships, what tuition help they could give you, location, where do you want to be. A lot of the things she had talked about, she's like, I kind of like the East Coast, I kind of like the center here. I kind of, I'm just trying different things. It's like, okay, that's fine. Just realize what you're looking at. She looked at demographics, and am I going to be the only Black American here? What's the population going to look like? Because I know in McConnell, that was my first assignment. For me, PA loved me. You're a minority operator, where they could get in there and get the news stations on. They could show, look, we got diversity and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, Okay, got you. But at the same time, sometimes you just want to mix in. It's like, no, we're all part of this together. We just need to get the mission done. That's the stuff I know she's kind of looking for. Like, okay, I don't want to stand out too much. I want to kind of get in there and find my people and do my school. So we talked about that. She is staying at home because the road she's going is going to be more than the 4 years. And she started looking at it from that aspect too. She's like, oh my God, the cost of dorms is crazy. So can you guys mind if I stay? It's like, baby, you ain't got to ask.
That's what's up, man.
You are more than welcome to stay here and commute and do however you want. And I think that's something that I know has changed too. Is we don't. Who told me this? God, I can't think of who told me this. But one time someone said, you know, big boys, big girls, treat them like big boys, big girls. Nah, treat them like mature people. You know, and I think that's something that has helped us with them quite a bit. Is we treat them like mature people. Not that we don't have fun and do silly stuff here and there, but
I've seen the dad jokes
oh yeah, well yeah,
in some of the videos.
because I like to be silly still.
Hey, there's a question in the chat that I'm just going to bring up from Jeff Sparks.
Uh-huh.
He said, "Did you take the post 9/11 GI Bill?"
Yes,
Okay.
we did, and here's the thing with that for us, and this is all a credit to Liv, to our oldest. She did really well in high school. And so going to apply for SLU and everything, the scholarships and grants that she got helped us out a lot. So we have not had to use any of the 9/11 yet, but we do have it in there. Lucy, possibly when our oldest gets further into school, and if she decides to go ahead and move closer to the school or something like that, then we have it ready for her there too.
Awesome. Hey, cool. Thanks for kind of shedding some light to that, man. I think that is an excellent benefit that I hope that a lot of veterans and their families get the chance to use should they decide to kind of go that route. It takes a little bit of planning.
Oh
It does take a little bit of planning to make it work. But our nation's came a long way. We still got a lot to work on.
yeah,
But that's one way that they have looked at through veterans advocacy groups and just people, like you and me,
hmm
have kind of built into law to
yeah,
be able to kind of pass that benefit down.
yeah. Because that is a smart thing. That's a good question, Jeff. Because I know you got two girls too, and you thinking about this because the real numbers are hitting the table and you're like, oh god.
Ooh, yes, sir. Hey,
Okay,
Ralph,
I'm gonna
man.
sell this child first and then
So let's go back to before you became a dad.
okay.
You get your first assignment. You're at Kansas.
Uh-huh.
When did your lady come into the picture, and how did you make the decision to uh, ask her to marry you? And I'm assuming you asked her to marry you, and start a family. Like, how
Yeah.
did that kind of come about?
Okay. So I joined back in 1996, and I was 17, so I had to get my parents to sign off on it. I know some of other people have done that too, and of course,
So did.
yeah, and your dad probably hit you up with the same thing. He probably said, "Hey, you sure?" and That's what my parents did. They said, "Okay, are you sure this is the route you want to go?" I said, "Yeah." Right now, we ain't got money to pay for me to go to college. I'm not trying to put us in debt like that. We're just let's take it easy. And I'll go this route. Save. And the other thing, and I'm going to give this shout out here because this is big for me. Me and my brothers are really tight. We don't talk all the time. We talk, maybe once a month, but when we talk, it's just like we never separated, My older brother went the Navy route. And what ended up happening is he's very mechanically inclined. His mindset is hands-on stuff,
Mm-hmm.
not as much as like written stuff. But he's a genius. He's works with metal now, stuff like that. Amazing. He said, "You know what, Mom, Dad, save whatever money you got for Rafi for me. That way he could go to college." And I my older brother, love him. I'm glad he did that. But I knew at the same time, my younger brother is way smarter than both of us combined. So it's like, you know what? This guy needs that money because he's going to do some good stuff with that too. So we ended up going that route. I said, you know what, save the money for June. I get the GI Bill at the time, not the post 9/11 GI Bill. So, I see Kathleen talking up there. see me getting there. So, but basically, all that, I want to give a shout out to my brothers because they helped me get in this direction, and my younger brother took advantage of it, and he's doing great things too.
Very nice. Very
So
nice.
I'll go ahead and fast forward. I was Air Force, unmarried for my first. Sorry, we got a new pet now, and I just heard her slam her collar to the ground. So 4 years later, we ended up getting married. I met her in 1999. What ended up happening is I did follow going to school because I love education. I love learning, So I wanted to get back into school as soon as possible. All of our basic training, our initial training, mission certification training, all that stuff. As soon as I got done with that, I enrolled, started going to school. I met her after Allied Force, which those who don't know or are not familiar, when Kosovo and Milosevic had his ethnic cleansing going on, and we deployed in support of stopping that. Came back because I had an instructor school date. Went down to Altus, did my instructor school. I got back. The first thing I did, I drove back from Altus to McConnell, 4-hour drive, or 4.5, depending if you're speeding or not.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the education center because I'm like, I got to enroll. So I get there, and Kathena is working behind the desk. And first of all, I thought she was really cute. But I was there for purpose. I'm very oriented on, getting it done. And so got in there. It's like, hey, I need to enroll in some classes. What do you got? She ended up bumping some civilians for me because the classes were on base. So military always have priority. So she got me in some classes and ended up catching up with her again later on. Went up to the desk to, you got to exchange information with all the school stuff. And I showed up and I remembered her name, but her name placard wasn't up. So, saw her back there. I'm just like, hey, Catherine, how are you doing? And first of all, I remember her name. I'm a faces person, so I see your face, I'm gonna remember your face.
Same here. Unless you have some unique name, I
or
might forget you as soon as I turn the corner.
And we don't have name tapes out here in the civilian world, so it's like I know your face, but I don't remember your name. I definitely remember her name. She was real nice. She took care of me. So I get in classes, and I get a phone call at my squadron. At the time, I was in the 349th, the old building, not the new stuff. Um, and I get a call there. We used to have someone sitting manning a duty desk. Whenever it was duty hours, there was always someone there. So when phone calls came in, they'd holler for you around the squadron, come get a phone call. So she had called and let me know, hey, I remember you talking about this paper that you need to do, and you were worried about the timeline because you're out there flying and you're doing all this stuff. I just talked to the instructor. He just said the paper is actually going to be delayed, so it won't be due. So you don't have to worry about it. And it's like, okay, well, she kind of went out of her way to let me know. I mean, people just don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's customer service you don't see on
Yeah,
the regular.
that is not a normal thing. So then I'm gonna move forward with this. So I'm up here taking my classes, and again, I always strive to do really good. I'm up here, I always get A's, stuff like that. I started during classes to go in there, see what's happening, and then go to the front desk to go see what's happening. And just saying hi. The funny part about it was there was a guy in one of my classes who seemed to also show interest in Catena. And I wasn't, you know me, I'm pretty chilled, easygoing, I think. And so I just come say hello, just have conversation with her. And so I'm going to get my butt kicked for this one, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is I invited Katina to go see a hockey game. I don't know if you ever went to any of the Wichita Thunder games, but it was actually a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how that rolls. I'm just like, okay, I know you may not be into hockey. I'm not into hockey, but going to a live game is different. It's a good time. Would you like to go? And so she tells me yes. And it's like, great, awesome, sounds cool. So we coming up to the day, I get a phone call from her, and it says, yeah, I'm not going. And I'm just like, okay, well,
False start, flag on the plane.
yeah, that's it. This ain't happening. Okay, well, I could take a hint. You ain't gotta tell me twice. And of course, because I didn't know her, I didn't know her family. And of course, growing up military brat, where we didn't live near family, it's like, okay, when I think of going to visit family, I'm thinking, okay, you gotta jump on a plane, cross a little bit of a puddle, and then get back on the island, and now you're seeing family, not a jump in the car, drive 3.5 hours away. So her grandparents lived down in Oak City, and she's like, yeah, we went down there to go visit someone, my grandfather and my grandmother, because they live down there. And it's like, oh, okay, well, all right, likely story. But I'm like, you know what? Okay, you want to try again this coming week? There's another game, week to go. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. So,
Okay. Still in there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we're good. I go pick her up to go, and my poor wife, well, the lady I was trying to say, hey, with at the time was not feeling well, and she still came. She all congested and everything, and she's like, I'm not gonna cancel because he's really gonna think that I'm not gonna that I'm not interested, but I am. So we finally made it to our first game. I think, or I know, we all had a good time. She let me know. She's like, you know what, this was a good time. I'm glad I went. I'm just like, I'm glad you went too. this is a good thing. So then we started dating. Not quite officially dating yet. I had a short notice because the world we lived in. To go back in support of Allied Force, and the deal was the guard unit saw Thanksgiving was coming around, and they all wanted to be home, so they called the active duty guys and left their planes for us. That's so nice of them. Uh, so, so I got to go to France to Istris, and I sent her an email because I got to go up to Provence. I don't know if you had a chance to go up that way in your time, but it's really beautiful up there. So I sent her an email. I'm just like, hey, hopefully, I'll see you here when I get back in about a week or two. Something I gotta tell you is I would love to bring you up here sometime. You gotta see this place. And so we got to talking back and forth. She even, I skipped a part before we left because we flew civilian out there because there are airplanes out there. And she actually met me for breakfast and went to the airport with me to see me out back when they could actually walk to the gates without a ticket. So, and that's the first time we held hands. Just those little things that you feel going the right way. So then we fast forward a little bit. We decided to go down to Louisiana, to New Orleans. I do like this, like it's just around the corner, right? It's around Mardi Gras time frame.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, you want to take a trip? We could go down to New Orleans, right? So we ended up going down there, just having a great time. Before that, I actually got approval to move out of the dorms because when you're a senior airman at the time, we had to get commander's approval and all that stuff to be off base if you're single. And I went to, I asked her if she wanted I needed to go apartment hunting, and she's like, oh, you know what, can I tag along? It's like, yeah, that's cool because I could use insight. I haven't done this before. This is good stuff. And we got to talking, and it's like, we kind of mutually came to, we want to move in together. Would we like to, see where this goes? And so we were absolutely yes. And then do I skip that? Yeah, I'll skip that.
So,
I'm gonna skip that.
Question. So while y'all are adults, she was relatively close to her family at the time. Was that an issue with y'all making the decision to move in together?
We made that decision and found out later after we came back from Mardi Gras because she had boxed up some of her stuff. We were moving after we came back. That her parents, I think they were in San Francisco visiting her sister. Is that right, Nikki? I see you're up here somewhere. But I think they were visiting her, or maybe they went somewhere else, but they came back a little bit early. And they saw the boxes, and I guess we hadn't told them yet.
Mm.
So then that led to a little bit of Oklahoma City. I just heard my wife around the corner. Okay. So it was Oklahoma City. And so they came back early. They saw the boxes, and that's when I found out too that they didn't know. And it was just like, oh, okay. I felt a little bit in the middle of it because it was a little surprise to me that they didn't know as well. But eventually it all came around, and we ended up living together. Things were going really great. Ended up having, now everyone's proposing with all the big everything. Didn't do that. It's a good thing we didn't have social media. Otherwise, the expectations probably would have been higher. it was again same thing, kind of like the way we moved in together. Is we were discussing it. It's like, you know what, things are really good, and this is the most right anything has ever felt. So, you know what? Let's, do you see long lasting? What are you seeing? And especially since this is a dad talk here, one of the things ingrained in me is respect. So respect all around, right? So I knew for me a very responsible, respectful thing to do is may seem old school to some people, but go talk to her dad and ask for his blessing. And so I met with him, and we talked. I had a discussion. He let me know a few things. It's like, okay, that's cool. He asked me a couple of questions, gave him answers, and he gave me his blessing. And then so we ended up uh, coming together
You know,
that way.
I did the same thing with my ex-wife,
Uh-huh.
and talking to both of her parents prior to asking her to marry, because I think that respect thing is important. I don't know if that's a values thing, or I don't even know if people do that now. Because
Yeah.
me and you both have daughters. I don't know what my daughter's life plan is. It's my hope. It is my hope
Yeah.
that as she gets older, all right, and she has decisions that she's making like your oldest did, all right, like that next
Mhm.
step with college and figuring things out, that she'd be able to come to her parents for advice, because
Oh yeah.
it for me, I'm not about telling her what to do. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important that she's empowered to make choices and live with the consequences of those choices. Like, and consequences being like good or bad. I think some people say the word consequences and it's negative, but it's like, no, it's making a decision and then being okay and living with the,
The
fallout
results.
or the
Yeah.
yeah, like the results
Mhm.
from the choice that you made, and if it's the correct one at the time,
Mhm.
fantastic. If it's
Oh, yeah.
not, let's come back, regroup, talk about what happened, and then it's my hope that that my
Mhm.
daughter learns from that, so
Yeah.
that she doesn't repeat something that would be something that would give her a negative yield going forward.
Oh yeah. No, I completely agree with that. That's we dads of ladies, so
Now, when y'all had Olivia, your first one, there's an
yeah.
age gap, from your oldest to your youngest. Were both of them planned kids or oopsies? Or if you don't
No.
mind sharing, you
Yeah.
know.
No. That's fine. First one, uh, we didn't plan, but absolutely welcomed.
Mhm.
Her. I actually found out. I again, how come all these stories start with I deployed? So I deployed to Prince Alton Air Base in Saudi, and it was around August, July. Wait, I got to back it up. Somewhere around July, August, and we out there. I give Katina a call. Been there for maybe about a week, week and a half. And I call Katina, got our prison time phone calls, 15 minutes, once a week. So I call her, and she's telling me, I've been really sick, and I have to go to the hospital. And I'm just like, in the back of my head, for some reason, I'm just like, I think we're about to have a baby, you know. And so I told her, I said, hey, you think you may be pregnant? You think we're pregnant? She's like, I don't know. So we ended up, she ended up taking the test. And then so my next phone call, I skipped the week. I came like the next day and called her, and she, she's like, we're pregnant, and it's like, oh wow, for me, it even though it wasn't planned, it was a great surprise. It was you know, amazing. I wish I could have been home, but I got the news in the desert. And, of course, then we're talking about it. It's like, okay, so you've been getting sick and you've had to go to the hospital. You live in town with your parents. While I would love to be there to tell them with you, you may want to let them know just because you are going to the hospital. And, so there's no surprises that way, So, we ended up doing that and got home from the deployment, very excited with her. Number two was in Kadena. We were all there together. She was more planned. We started talking about, and my wife had really rough pregnancies.
For both of them.
For both of them.
Okay.
That's why the 6-year gap is. The first one is like, oh my God, we're talking about changing, nutrition bags through a central line IV on her once every 24 hours, mixing in medicine, surgery during her pregnancy, just not good. So we ended up backing off of that. And, we're just like, I don't know if we're going to do this again, because it was a lot to see her go through. But then we ended up, later down the road, 6 years, it's like, they're like, chances are that ain't going to happen again. All's going to be good. So then we went and did that and ended up going through the same thing over in Japan. But again, same thing, very welcomed. But after Lucy, we're just like, yeah, we ain't gonna do that again. We are more than happy to have our babies here. So my wife's a very strong woman who was able to do this and bring us two very beautiful daughters. Despite all that happened with her.
Was there a challenge, and we kind of touched on this early, being that you were an enlisted aviator, was there a challenge in being gone and on the road and, having a family back home and, two babies? Talk about that a bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind. The good thing with our relationship is her dad retired from the 349th as a 135 crew chief when maintenance was still together with the ops like that. So she understood and saw, the TDY cycle, deployment cycle, and she had a good understanding of that. So it wasn't as much shock. Yeah, because I've seen it, you've seen it, we've all seen it, where especially a civilian to her spouse marries into the military and thinks it's going to be one way, and when it actually happens, it's a big surprise. It's a little different. Now, the same stuff occurred. Flooding in the basement when I'm deployed. Hospital visits when I'm deployed. All that stuff still happened, but she was, I think, better equipped to handle it, and she did really well with it. And all that worked out for us. Oh, okay. So here's our new addition. So she want to be up there.
Yeah, the cat wanted to get some screen time real quick.
I'll put him down here. See if she makes her way up again. So on that aspect, I am not going to say it was easy for her, mostly with that. With us, it isn't. For me, I'll speak for me, because I've heard guys who will say, you know what, this is, I'm glad I'm TDY, I'm getting a break, or I'm glad I'm deploying, I'm getting a break from everyone. I never felt like that. It killed me to them and missing so much. But at the same time, my mindset was, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is to ensure they have their freedom being Americans here. So the at that point in time, what I was doing outweighed the cost. For her, I think that, of course, the hard part is you're single parenting, and that's I can't even imagine people who have, like we got neighbors who have like 4 kids and 5 kids. I can't even imagine that with 1 and 2 kids. It was just like, okay, she held it down. I think the hard part on that is the amount that we moved. You know, it was difficult for her to find a career path, because you pick up, you go. You just have babies. You know how much childcare costs. You know how little we got paid. Even though everyone thinks that we up here banking, I'm trying to find where that bank is because they owe us some money. But it's a lot going on, and so to all the spouses who do stay home, and especially the ones who have children, I'm always grateful for the work they do. They're not compensated. They're not, nothing like that ever occurs. Um, and it's hard. And I think it's there's a phrase I heard recently: situational understanding. Uh,
Yes.
it's a
I've heard that phrase
situational
before.
understanding. So when I hear people say like, "See, she just left him while he was deployed," it's like, you know what? You gotta understand these situations. Um, it isn't easy. It is not for everyone. Does it mean that they didn't love each other? Probably not. Chances are they probably did love each other. It's just the situation was too much, and at that point in time, they may have felt that that would have been the best for them. So I think it's one of those like judgment things. Don't you ain't got all the info, you know, let it be. For us, it worked out. You know, we saw plenty of that. Then we saw Jeff Sparks is on here. Him and his wife. We saw them get married. See Johnny Gomez is on here. Him and his wife. They're doing great. So it's situational. You gotta understand the situation.
I have a question, and I'm not going to call you older. I'm going to call you wiser. But
Wait, how old are you?
I'll be 37 myself actually next Wednesday, man.
Oh, okay.
Getting on.
I'm just 1 day older than you. That's all.
So hearing you talk, right? You have a very um, calm demeanor, and it seems like it's a pretty measured demeanor. And one of the questions that I ask somebody to kind of get some intel is, what is a phrase that you're known for, or something that you say? And that's what I titled this. I titled it "That's All Right,"
Oh,
and
hmm, yeah.
and just kind of hearing you talk now, like it almost seems like if there's something happening or an event happening, you would be likely to have a cooler head to kind of get people through things. Where did you learn that from?
It would probably be growing up, moving around, um, the environment we grew up in. A lot of arguing in the house. So it was a lot of, okay, let's woosah, you know, get get us all centered, you know, just kind of and realizing the outcome. You can control the outcome in almost everything. In almost everything, and I can't say everything for sure, but in a lot of things. Um, so it's on how you approach it. How are you going to come at it? How are you going to treat the obstacles that get in your way? You know, and I think that's where I'm at with it. Uh, it's like my new job now. We're not going to die if I miss something here. Unlike what we did, it could take seconds, and then you got a receiver eating your windshield or your boom window. Um,
That's the tricky part, man. That's the tricky part in just growing up in general because I kind of make that same equation all the time, and I've got a lot of friends who are veterans. Some of them are combat veterans,
mhm,
and their approach to and like I almost kind of hate to say this, but like small things, like what they would consider small things that's relative to them. You know,
mhm,
I've almost flown into a mountain. You know what
mhm.
I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
You know,
down in Afghanistan, plenty of those.
you know, flown on some very kind of hostile territories. So when things kind of come up, I'm also not quick to get spun up,
Yeah.
as well. And it is my opinion, and I'm trying to um, when it comes to like handling conflict, all right? Because as you grow up,
Mhm.
whether it's with your family, friends, your job, there's going to be conflict. I've got a couple of different things that I want to make sure that I, as my, daughter's dad, teach her is how to handle conflict and financial literacy.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if the schools are doing better about that now, but I don't want to just leave it in the school's hand. We've got the
Yeah.
knowledge now.
Mhm.
And I kind of had to learn through the school of hard knocks. And I'll admit too,
Hard knocks.
um, we've had some, at least when I was in and coming up, some really smart people that we flew with and that, that we had worked with as well. And they would kind of give some of this, free game, if you will,
Mhm.
um, and knowledge. It was up to the individual person if they actually listened
Yeah.
to what was
Listen.
being said and then also apply that knowledge as
Mhm.
well.
That's true.
Um, so I got one final question. I didn't realize that time has flown that fast.
Yeah. Look
Um,
at that.
fundamentally, really, what's been different with your oldest daughter and youngest? Because everybody's different
Mhm.
in life, but what's been kind of the biggest thing when going from kid number one to kid number two? Was kid number two easier as kid number two got older?
So with our oldest, she's more willing to try anything. You could toss her in the air when she was a baby, and she'd be like, "Ah, this is so fun." You know, our youngest maybe not as much, but the thing that they both do really great is when they put their mind to it. You know, they know how to focus and they know how to get it done, which is something that I'm always appreciative of. You can see like little generational differences just in the way the slang that's talked now in going into freshman versus a junior in college. And I think our oldest is realizing, oh, you know what? I think I might be losing a little bit of it because I'm not in high school anymore. It's like it happens. It happens to all of us. Yeah, but it's okay. But they both stay in the know. But they've the difference is you may have to get on one about one thing at a certain age, but when the other one achieves that age, it's a whole different ball game. So they're definitely individuals. You know.
All right. Rock
Mhm.
on. Well, hey man, it's been an hour. I try to
That's
keep my
fine.
show right there at an hour, and this time always goes fast. And one of the things that, I tell people when I ask them if they're willing to come on, they'll be like, "Hey man, I don't know, if I'll be able to fill up the hour." What I'm like, "Oh no, trust me, man, it goes."
It does go.
Because you'll start talking, and then people will kind of get some things, out there. And one of the things that I like to highlight is it seems as though um, you know that you're very measured with how you respond to things, and I think that somebody can see that and hear that and maybe apply some of that to their life, and hopefully that helps them as they kind of move forward and things like that. Oh, one more thing, man, before I let you go. when I
Okay.
come and visit,
Oh,
I'm gonna
good.
need
Come
for
on.
you to make some of that coquito that I heard was
Get some
fantastic,
coquito.
brother. Can we do that? Is
Yeah.
that something
You know.
that we can
Oh,
make
that's
happen?
piece of cake. Piece of cake. Simple. Yeah.
All
We ain't
right.
even got to wait for the holidays.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, hey, Ralph, thanks for coming on to my show. Hang back a second. I'm going to take you off the screen, close the show real quick, and then chat with you for a couple of minutes, man, before we both call it a night.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So that was my homeboy, Ralph. It is my homeboy. I call everybody, man, my homeboy. To me, everybody's family and friends. I like to give a shout out to the people that came into the comments. His family and friends. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And a big thanks to Ralph for just kind of, you know, talking about being a dad, sharing the things that he had to go through with while he was coming up, and the biggest thing that I kind of heard as well, having the difficult pregnancies from his wife. I wish I would have asked him to talk about that a little bit more if he was okay with sharing that, because I do know somebody that was a guy who struggled with that because he felt, and his words, and he's not going to mind me talking about this, was he didn't know what to do. He said he felt useless, and that was a really horrific feeling for him because his wife was struggling. So, Ralph, again, thanks for coming on, and this has been my Wednesday night chats with dads.